Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And in this case, you're in for a treat because we have our good friend with us, Andre Jackson. He's a professional Broadway and screen actor. He's a screenwriter. He's the founder of Acting Gym. So we're going to talk all about acting classes here in Memphis. But Andre, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thank you so much. That's a great intro. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Hey, well, we love you and your family, and you do so much to power the good. And when you talk about just your story and everything you're doing, you're putting a bright spotlight on Memphis, your hometown, because you're doing it on a global stage, which is really awesome. But let's start. You have a really cool story, an inspiring story when you talk about how you got into acting. So let's start with how you got into this world of acting.
Yeah, it is a pretty crazy story. I was going to college. I was in the Marine Corps. And so I transferred around to a couple of different colleges during that time, and I needed a fine arts class to graduate. I didn't have enough fine arts credits. So another Marine buddy of mine said, hey, there's an acting class. It's super easy. I'm in it. You just learn a few lines, say a few things, easy A. I said, that's the one for me. I enrolled in the class, and I was terrible. I got terrible stage fright, couldn't stop shaking. I knew everyone in the class thought I was trash. I knew I was trash. And so I went to the teacher during that drop period, and I said, no offense, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to drop this class. I don't really need this class. I just need a fine arts class. And this isn't going to be the one. I sucked. I suck. Everyone in class knows I suck. So she said to me, well, I'd hate for you to quit. So if you stay, I will grade you on your effort and not your performance. So I said, okay, I'm a Marine. I can work hard, So I said, I'll do my best. And as long as you grade me on my effort, as long as I try, I think I'll be okay. And the funny thing is, once that pressure to succeed, to be really, really good was gone, I was able to relax, which is one of the first things you need to do in acting, is to relax. And who I was able to come out. I was able to find a character, find a moment, make the performance my own. And I didn't care what other people thought. I didn't care that other people were watching me. All I wanted to do was be this character in this moment. And I loved it. And at the end of the class, the teacher came to me and she said, I did 3 finals, by the way. So many of the other students wanted to be my partner that I did 3 final exams, which is a final performance. And she said, I'll grade you on your best one. That'll be your grade for the semester. But the teacher came to me, her name was Linda Starkey, Wichita State University. And she said, you seem to enjoy this, and I did. And she said, it'd be a shame for you to throw it away. I know you're going to medical school. My major was biology. She said, but you should give it a shot. And so she wrote down the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. She told me all about the school, and I applied. And I said, well, the chances of me getting into this thing are slim to none. This is one of the best acting conservatories in the country. But I gave it my best. I did the exact same thing that I'd learned in those classes, and I couldn't believe it when I got in. And that's where I discovered acting, real acting, for the first time, what it takes. And I was in love from that point on. And I've been doing it ever since. That was 20 years ago. And I love it. I still love it. I love it more, I think.
I definitely want to talk about some favorite moments because you've had many, but I want to look at the power of acting because we live in a world, especially where kids right now are isolated. They live on their screens. When you talk about acting, and even for myself, like I, look at acting as really something that transformed my life in terms of being able to communicate, build relationships, hard work, learning all the lines. Like there's a lot of strategy and effort and hard work that goes into acting to be successful that ultimately are life lessons. Talk about some of those lessons that you've learned through acting that carry over and really transcend acting to just being a good person, a hardworking person, but really successful in life and business no matter what.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of times when people talk to me about acting, the first thing they ask is, "How did you learn all those lines?" They think that that's the difficult part. It's not. It's certainly something you have to learn to do well. But acting is really about understanding people and understanding yourself and being able to communicate, whether it's you, if you're just talking about your feelings, or this character, how this character feels, being able to communicate that to someone else, to a screen, to an audience. And you could work in, I've coached people who worked in sales. I've worked with people who were just, they were junior high school teachers and they wanted to be able to talk to their students better and communicate to their students better. It's really about understanding how to take what's happening here and let it come out here or in your body. Being able to translate those feelings and emotions that we all have to someone else. And that's the power of theater, I believe, in acting. You know, it's allowing someone a glimpse into someone else's soul, their feelings, their emotions, so they can understand someone who may be very similar to them or very different from them. But we all understand the human experience. That's a commonality that we all understand. And that's something that we can all benefit from. So, we live at a time right now where a lot of people are, they're on their phones, they're stuck here. And so they lose that ability just by isolation. We lose that ability to communicate with one another and to share emotional experiences with one another. And acting and art are some of those things that we can do to exercise that muscle, to relate to one another, and to be better at communicating, whether you're telling a story for a movie or you're giving today's homework assignment, being able to communicate that effectively and clearly to one another. And you can change lives that way.
You've been on Broadway, you've toured around the world, so from big stages to big screens. Give us a couple of special moments when you look at your acting career. We'll do one with the writing as well, but when you look at your acting career, give us a couple of fun highlights.
Oh yeah. Well, I started out at a very small. My first professional show was a small theater in Los Angeles, and we did a show called The Scottsboro Boys that ultimately went to Broadway. But that show, it was transformational for me. One, it was my first time working with professional actors, and these guys were amazing. I'd been studying acting and learning how to act, but I'd never been around people who really did it and did it at a high level. And it was like being a basketball player and getting a chance to have a scrimmage game with like LeBron James, or in my case, Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? So it's only going to elevate your skills, and that's exactly what it did to me. And I was first cast as a standby, meaning I didn't have a part in the regular part in the show. I was doing just that. I was standing by in case someone fell or hurt themselves or got sick, and I learned all the parts in the show. And someone dropped out of the show, and the stage manager said, Andre can do this. I think I know he knows all the lines. I see him learning the lines. And she was right. I did. That's part of the training, is you learn everyone's lines, not just your own, right? So I went on, and it was sort of a scary experience. My first time ever in front of a live audience. And I said a line, and the line got a reaction. And that relationship, again, between me and the audience set me on fire. And I got a chance to feel what that was really like, to have a real experience in a character, in a television show, or in a stage production with a live audience. And it just, after that, if I wasn't already hooked, that hook was in there even deeper, because I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think the next time after that was obviously the Lion King. I saw The Lion King when it was in Los Angeles. A buddy of mine was working at an ice cream shop that was right next to the theater, at the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles. And he said, you got to come see this show. And, I thought, that's for kids. That's The Lion King. I'm doing serious acting here. I'm doing Shakespeare. I'm doing August Wilson. And he said, no, it's an amazing show. And I went to see it. And from the moment the lights went down and the curtain came up and Rafiki came out and she pointed at the sky and said, "Nah, elephants came down the aisle." And then the show itself, I was on the edge of my seat the entire show. I mean, I was in tears the whole show. And I said, I have to be in this show. I have to be a part of that, to be able to affect someone. I wasn't the only one. I'm looking around at other grown men and children and women. Everyone's just in tears and they're cheering at the end for Simba as he walks up that Pride Rock. And, it's the classic Hamlet story, and I was determined to be in that show. And I auditioned and I auditioned. And after 4 auditions, I finally got cast. And that was one of the proudest moments of my life, being able to work alongside those amazingly talented actors. Everything from the costumes, which are hand beaded, using fabrics from Africa, to the people who do the lighting, who are up in the rafters and shining to make it look like the savannah. And you were in the middle of, wintry New York. To work with that level of artistry and talent is just one of the highlights of my career.
And how long were you a part of The Lion King?
15 years, and not only that, I really wanted to be Simba in that show. And I started in the ensemble. And when I got to the show, I had my sights on that Simba role. And after just a couple of years, I was blessed enough to be cast, bumped up to Simba, and to be the prince, then king of the Pride Lands. It just a dream come true. And I got a chance to see some amazing cities, Memphis included. I got to perform right here at the Orpheum for family and friends. It truly was like Simba coming back home to show the family that I've made good on my promise. It was a huge highlight, and I got to see tons of places from Anchorage to Edmonton, Calgary, and Canada and Mexico, and it was a whirlwind experience, and of course Broadway, which became my home for many years, and it's been great.
And there's tons of viral videos out there and all sorts of good stuff, when you talk about The Lion King and you being a part of that storyline, which is really cool. Because once again, as you go out there and succeed, you're putting this nice spotlight and bringing these experiences back home to Memphis, which is exactly what we're going to talk about here in a little bit with acting, Jim. But touch on one more side of this, which is the screenwriting side. And when you look at some of the TV shows and the things that you're having a chance to be a storyteller and share these experiences in a different way, it's really cool. So give us one highlight for you as a screenwriter.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pivot I didn't expect. I love acting, and that is my love. And I love being a part of these stories and creating these stories. And while I was doing The Lion King, I'd been writing for several years. And I had a friend of mine who knew I'd been writing. I'd written some things, produced my own short films. Some of them played here in Memphis, at Indian Memphis. Won some awards, and that was all great, and encouraged me to keep going and keep trying and learning the whole process of screenwriting and all that. And a friend of mine contacted me when there was a position for a show that he was working on, Magnum P.I, which I grew up watching, the original Tom Selleck version. And he said, "Hey, are you still writing?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm still writing." He said, "Well, could you send me a script?" And I sent him a script. And before I knew it, I was talking to the showrunner of the show. And we spoke and had a brief interview. And he hired me as a writer. And I'm in this room. He said, just to give you a timeline here, Jeremy, I had the meeting on Monday. Tuesday was my first day in the writer's room. And I go in and they're talking about the show and they're talking about episodes. And these are veterans of television. These are people who've been working in the show working, not this show, but in television, writing for ER, Cheers, shows I grew up watching for 30, 40 years. And someone said, ask my opinion on something. And I realized, man, this is going to be a trial by fire. There's no training program for this. I have to rise to the occasion. But the amazing thing was all those years of working alone, working for free, teaching myself how to do this, believing that I could possibly one day do this, paid off, because here I am now working with these professionals. And I wrote a script once that one of the producers told me that it was one of her favorite scripts in the entirety of that series. I can only attribute that to the fact that I worked hard, I believed in what I was doing, and when the opportunity arose, I was prepared. And I'm grateful for all those people in that room who took me under their wing and helped to even further cultivate and nourish my abilities and my talents, because they're some of the best of the best. And being able to work on a show like that, the first time I saw my name on the screen that said written by Andre Jackson, it was another Lion King moment. It was just, I couldn't believe this is my life. I get to do this for a living, and it's.
So let's carry that over into what you're bringing to Memphis. You've been doing this for a long time in terms of Los Angeles, New York, and training, education, equipping people for success. So talk about Acting Gym.
Yeah, Acting Gym started in Los Angeles, actually. It was a chance for a lot of working actors to get together and work out. So I call it Acting Gym. You're working out that muscle, those muscles of acting. Because when you're in a long-running show, whether it's a soap opera or, if you're lucky enough to be in a series or a stage production like I was, you're doing the same character. You're doing the same, singing the same songs sometimes, night after night, 8 times a week, 6 days a week. And, you're not getting to flex those muscles that you would be able to flex if you were out there auditioning or doing a lot of different things. So a lot of professional actors would get together, and we would have a class somewhere, find a space. And it started with just helping each other, coaching each other. And I sort of facilitated it. And then before long, I became the instructor. Because I've been trained at the American Academy, because I've worked in television, because I've worked on stage, whether it's a small stage or a giant Broadway stage, I had all this experience that I could pull from that most of my counterparts just didn't have, because they hadn't experienced such a varied list of venues and experiences as I had. So I understood why I became sort of the facilitator and the teacher, and then it grew and grew. And then when I went to Broadway, we continued it there with a lot of Broadway actors who are on long. They've been in Wicked for 8 years. They've been in Phantom for 10 years. We did the same thing there. And then it started to bring in people who hadn't been in long-running shows, people who just wanted to act. Like I said, people who just wanted to be able to speak and communicate better. Teachers, business people who wanted to be able to be in front of a stage, be on stage, and be in front of people and speak without having to shake, and get their words out without, getting lost and thought and paralyzed by fear. And it became that. So it really grew. And now that I'm going to be here in Memphis for an extended period of time, my wife and I, she said, well, why don't you bring some of all this stuff you've been doing in all these other places? The people here in Memphis don't have those opportunities. They don't have access to that level of training. And it was a quick yes, because I understood that if I'd had this exposure to this training, I would have been so much better when I did go to LA, when I did go to New York City. I would have been more prepared. I would have been able to bypass a lot of the mistakes that I made through Hard Knocks if I'd been better prepared here. But one of the things, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of those opportunities. So this is a way that I can not only provide the experiences that I've had and allow people to learn from that, but I can provide a resource that otherwise no one in our area would have unless they went to a coast and lived there for an extended period of time. And so I'm happy to do it. I'm excited to do it. There's so much talent in this city, in this part of the country, but especially in Memphis, which is like, it's like the birthplace of talent for many, many thousands of people for generations, that I'm excited to see what these students bring to the class and what they're able to discover on their own. And it's going to be some amazing talent that grows out of this city. I know it, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
So talk about how it works because you have different classes and then you also do private lessons. So give us a little bit of an overview, a snapshot of the process.
Yeah. So I think most people, especially when you're first starting out, a lot of people want to do the classes because it's not so much focus on you. You can sort of learn from your peers, and I call those my core classes. So I have a core one, a core two, and a core three. They move up depending on skill level and experience. But we cover everything from the basics, like I mentioned before, just relaxation and concentration and things like that, and how to learn lines, how to find a character, how to understand a script, all the way from that to advanced acting techniques in the core three classes. So those are the classes we meet depending on what level you're at anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. It's a weekly class. Then they have the coaching, private coaching, which a lot of people really like when they want more individualized attention, or because there are some people who they're not comfortable being in front of other people yet. So they really just want to be in this safe space. And so that's great. A lot of growth can happen there. That's private. And there are also a lot of professionals who like the private because they need that more intense instruction. And especially if they have an audition coming up, whether it's for a school or they're giving a big speech at their conference coming up, and they want to go through that speech so that it sounds a whole lot better, it flows, it makes sense, and they feel like themselves when they're up there. That's the private coaching, which I really enjoy. And then there's on-set coaching. So I know there's a series I believe coming to Memphis. I don't know how much filming is done here in Memphis right now, but that's a lot of people in New York and LA do the on-set coaching because it helps. When you have cameras and crews around you, and the director's saying this, and you just got changes to your lines 2 minutes ago, and now they're going to put you on camera. It's an invaluable resource to be able to have someone on set who can help you sort of calm down, focus in, figure this scene out, and go out there on camera and give your absolute best performance. So those are the classes we offer. It's already getting a lot of attention, which is great, and it's going to be a fun experience. Like I said, I can't wait to see what these Memphis artists have and watch them transform during this process.
Well, and just like you're talking about, I equate it to sports, for everyone in sense of every athlete needs a good coach, right? And especially even during tennis matches, they're going to their coach for advice in the middle of the match, right? Like, so you're talking about even on set. And like we talked about earlier, all of this transcends. So for business leaders who want to give a better presentation, for teachers who want to better connect, for kids who don't necessarily see themselves in acting, but just want to be able to learn how to communicate and have confidence and identity, like all of these benefits coming through acting, storytelling, all of this, I just think it's powerful. And to have someone, who's been there and done that at the highest level on the biggest stages is absolutely invaluable, because for those who do have that dream, to be prepared, to be going at it as a professional, to put in the time and effort to learn your craft before you go to Los Angeles or New York, that's the whole key. Is you want to be prepared. You don't want to go out there and think, I'm just going to make it happen. You need to walk out there prepared. And that's exactly what you're bringing to Memphis, is that preparation, that experience, and that opportunity to learn, from you. And so carry that into then website. Where do we go to learn more about Acting Gym, about you? Where do we carry this conversation forward?
Yeah, you can go to actinggym.com. That's the site for the acting classes and everything. All the information is right there. You can reach out to me on there. Any questions? There's no dumb question. There's no silly question. I'm eager to answer it all. You can go in there and check out all the stuff about the classes, but you can also find out a lot about me if you go. There's some stuff on the website about me on that website too, but you can also go to my website, my actor's website, which has a little more information about me and things I've done at andrejackson.com. There's a link on there also for the Acting Gym website, but actinggym.com. We're taking students now. We're still enrolling. There's still spots left, and we're gonna start classes here pretty soon. But it's also, you don't have to worry about being like, if I don't get in the first group of students, then I'm gonna have to wait until the end of the semester or anything. You can jump in at any point. The classes are constructed in a way where you can start at any time during the year, this semester, or whatever it would be. But there's tons of information there. All my contact stuff is there, so I'm looking forward to hearing from folks.
Well, Andre Jackson, thank you for all you do and your family does to power the good. We love and appreciate you, and definitely thank you for coming on the show. So we'll see you again soon, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's great to be here.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.